There's a fight this weekend that I've circled on my card at welterweight that I am going to be watching. You don't want to take a bathroom break. We have Mickey Gall taking on Bomaye, Jordan Williams. Matt, do I like the game? No, answer the question.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of. But I love that song, Ali Bomaye. Cool nickname, but for Jordan Williams, I look at this fight, he's the definition of a kill or be killed fighter. And this one is, like I said, taking place at welterweight, not at middleweight. And this is Jordan Williams' first fight at 170 pounds since Conquer FC2 when he got knocked out in the first round by Dwight Grant back in 2016. So it's been a while. He came into the UFC with a knockout win over Gregory Rodriguez, who looked amazing in his UFC debut. First round knockout in that one. He lost to Nassourdine Imavov his last time out. What can you tell me about Jordan Williams?
Jordan Williams is a very, very fun fighter. And like you said, he is kill or be killed. He is one of those weird fighters who will give up defense in pursuit of offense. And that is going to get him caught against the upper echelon of fighter in this division. Like, if Jordan Williams fought Santiago Ponzinibbio this weekend, then maybe I'd be a little bit hesitant on him and his ceiling in the division. But the fact that they're matching him up with Mickey Gall, who is still very green in his MMA career, I really do think this is perfect matchmaking by the part of the UFC. The weird thing about Mickey Gall is that, and here, for anyone who doesn't like basketball, let me get these references out of the way now. If you know who Ben Simmons is at all in basketball, he's a great talent, but he can't shoot at all. And he's this weird player who, if you looked at the rookie version of him 5 years ago and looked at the player today, they're basically the same guy. And I'm asking myself that about Mickey Gall, because Mickey Gall, I'm sure, has developed since the fighter who fought Mike Jackson back in 2016, who fought CM Punk all the way back when. But he hasn't really shown it in the cage, and that is the one thing that I always have to come back to. Like, Mickey Gall, if he has been in the UFC for the last 5 years, should at least have a competitive fight with a guy like Mike Perry, who does seem to sort of be on his way out, if anything. He got absolutely dominated by Mike Perry and didn't even have a minute in that fight where I could have scored for Mickey Gall.
Now, that's because Mike Perry had a great corner. That's why he won that fight. But you're right. I mean, you look at it. For Mickey Gall, he beat Ron Templeton at Dead Series 17 on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. They sign him at 1-0. He beats Mike Jackson by first round finish. Chick Magnet Punk by first round finish. Sage Northcutt by second round finish. That was emo Sage in that fight. That was a really weird one. But since then, he loses to Randy Brown at UFC 217. Well, I'm fine with that. Randy Brown's a good fighter. That's not just in Craig's mind's eye. Randy Brown's proven that he's a good fighter. Look at his single-arm submission win over Alex Oliveira's last time out. He beats George Sullivan, who was then on his way out of the UFC. He gets finished by Diego Sanchez. He beats one of the worst fighters that was on the roster at the time, in Salim Touari, whose cardio was awful, and that was a terrible fight. It really was. And then he was booked against Carlos Condit, Alex Oliveira. The fights fell through. He gets Mike Perry, and he lost in emphatic fashion. He was then booked against Miguel Baeza.
Oh, he's lucky that fight fell through.
That fight fell through. Gall withdrew. So now he gets Jordan Williams. And I said about Williams, he has a bit of a wrestling background. And this is funny. I never go here for info. But the UFC's Jordan Williams page in the Q&A section. When and why did you start training for fighting? I started fighting when I was 19 years old. The reason why I started fighting was because a friend brought up the idea to me, and I was screwed out of a full-ride scholarship to UC Davis when they dropped the wrestling program due to lack of funds. Got a wrestling background. Like that, as far as his defensive chops are concerned, his head movement's not great. He gets hit a lot on the feet. He had 3 shots to make the UFC on Dana White's Contender Series. The last one was the golden ticket. For Jordan Williams, I've seen him lose by finish to Kazula Vargas. I went back and watched that fight because it was wild. I know if you look at it, it was a doctor's stoppage. There was blood. It was at Tachi Palace. He's got some decent wins. He's got some striking. He's bringing it in against Mickey Gall, who, and this is where I want to hand it off, more than just a week ago, I'm talking weeks and weeks ago, Mickey Gall looking bodied up and training with Matt Brown at Immortal Martial Arts. He's also training out of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as well. Matt Brown making the trip between the two and training with him. What do you like about that?
One of the things they brought up when Adolfo Vieira fought this past weekend was that he sat down with someone and they made his last loss unavoidable. They sat him down and they made him watch it. They made him say, hey, failure is okay, but the fact that you failed that one time means that you can be better in the future. Mickey Gall's never really shown that. And the problem about that Mike Perry fight is that if you're going to have any success against Mike Perry, if you're Mickey Gall, it would have to be in the grappling. You would think, oh, if it hits the mat, Mickey Gall should have success no matter if he's on the bottom or the top. Mike Perry got offensive takedowns on Mickey Gall and held him down. Mike Perry's an okay offensive wrestler, and I honestly think that's probably the most underrated aspect of his game. But still, if you're being held down by a guy like Mike Perry, I just feel like it tells us that you haven't developed enough in your career. Now, having Matt Brown in his corner, I do think is a big thing, because Matt Brown is going to sit you down, and he's going to make sure that your losses are unavoidable. He's not going to let you hide from your losses and just show up to the gym every day like, that was the old version of me, I'm a new guy. Matt Brown still knocks people out in the UFC, and he's in his 40s, okay? Marion Renault couldn't do that. Not to talk bad about Marion Renault, but still, Matt Brown is a guy who is still very competitive, even though he is later on into his career, because he still trains absolutely crazy every single day. He's a guy who still does try to incorporate new things into his game. I feel like that is a good move for Mickey Gall, and I feel like it will help him, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think Mickey Gall's one of those cases where he got signed to the UFC too early, and he was never able to develop because he was in there with guys who were either way too good or other guys who weren't really UFC caliber. It's not his fault. It's the UFC for putting him in that position. It's just the position he was put in, and I don't think this fight against Jordan Williams is going to get him back on track.
Gall's had a really weird time because he was the guy that would train all around. I remember getting ready for some of the Mickey Gall fights and going, okay, well, now he's in California. He's training with Joe Schilling, of all people.
Ranch?
Joe Schilling was just cornering Daniel Rodriguez last weekend when he knocked out Preston Parsons. That was disgusting.
Didn't need to see that fight.
Stop bringing guys in on short notice like that. But in a fight like this, it is slightly evenly matched. You have the more striking, heavy-handedness out of Jordan Williams. Mickey Gall can strike, but again, his bread and butter is his ground game and his jiu-jitsu. The odds in this one have Williams, who opened to -150, is -209 on best fight odds. For Mickey Gall, open to +130, is +170. Over on Tapology, surprised us as it is to you. I scroll down.
Yeah.
687 total votes, 66% Williams, 50% by decision. 45% by knockout for the 34% that have Gall, 51% by decision, 37% by submission. I like Jordan Williams in this fight. If you look at Mickey Gall's losses, again, Randy Brown by decision, Diego Sanchez by ground and pound, Mike Perry by decision. I think Jordan Williams might end up on top. If he gets submitted, he gets submitted. But if you look at it for Williams so far, he got knocked out by Dwight Grant, doctor stoppage against Vargas, had the fight against Tim Karen that ended up going to a no contest, and even if you look into it at that point, maybe you forget about those early Contender Series fights. It was originally a win for Williams. It was overturned to a no contest because, of course, Jordan Williams hit that sticky icky. So, Matt, we're at this point right now where Williams had those 3 fights. He ends up losing against Nassourdine Imavov in his last time out. What are you saying here?
Just because you lose to Nassourdine Imavov doesn't mean you're going to lose to not Mike Perry, to Mickey Gall. The thing is, I don't think Mickey Gall was ever UFC caliber. It sucks to say. I take no pleasure saying it, but it's the truth. Like, he came in with 1 UFC win. He came in with 1 MMA win, I should say, not even a UFC win. He beat Mike Jackson. Is Mike Jackson UFC caliber? Is CM Punk UFC caliber? And was Sage Northcutt UFC caliber? None of those 3 fighters were. And again, none of this is Mickey Gall's fault. It's just the fact that with all that Tuesday contendership, it was the looking for a fight hype. They were trying to push all these young fighters. They were looking for the next Conor McGregor. Conor had just stepped away, and the UFC was looking for young stars. So they brought in all these young stars, and unfortunately, not a lot of them have really worked out. It sucks to say. It's just, I really do think Jordan Williams is a lot closer to Matt Brown than Mickey Gall is, and for all those reasons, I think Williams is going to be able to get it done.
Let us know down below in the comments section who you have in this fight. We're both going with Jordan Williams, but I wouldn't expect to strike it rich with this fight. Now, Matt, we got some big-time bangers on this card, including our main event between Corey Sandhagen and TJ Dillashaw. You're not going to want to miss that. Let's keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say,
let's get into it.